Netanyahu's vision for Greater Israel. What was Israel supposed to be after World War II? A homeland with justice, democracy, and refuge? Today, I argue, under Netanyahu's strategy for southern Lebanon and Gaza, that original promise is being eroded. I believe what is happening now amounts to genocide. So let's go behind the curtain. After World War II, Jewish survivors and refugees sought a homeland. The 1947 UN partition plan recommended dividing British Mandate Palestine into a Jewish and an Arab state. That plan carried vision, Jewish sovereignty, but coexistence, protection of minorities, a democratic system, and refugee resettlement. Israel's Declaration of Independence promised complete equality of social and political rights to all its inhabitants, irrespective of religion, race, or sex. Yet from the start, tensions hovered. Where would borders lie? What of the Palestinian Arab population? The right of return for refugees was declared, but soon became a central fault line. In my view, the ideal state was never meant to be expanding military fortress. It was to be defensible, yes, but constrained by law and conscience. Netanyahu's worldview is rooted in revisionist Zionism, the idea that Greater Israel includes the Golan, part of Jordan, the West Bank, and perhaps southern Lebanon. Over decades, his governments have pushed settlement annexation, argued for demilitarized buffer zones beyond recognized borders, and sometimes flouted international norms and laws. He has also cultivated popular and religious narratives that reclaim biblical lands, not just defensively, but proactively expanding. The logic, more depth, more security. But security for whom? Under Netanyahu, maps of defensible lines almost always include projecting power north into Lebanon and south into Gaza, not just stopping attacks, but controlling the horizon beyond Israel's borders. To me, this isn't just a strategy. This is territorial ambition cloaked in security language. Hezbollah looms as Israel's most serious northern opponent. Cross-border rockets, infiltrations, and Iranian support make Lebanon a part of Israel's deterrence calculus. Israel, however, does not merely repel attacks. It strikes deep, often into civilian zones, infrastructure zones, villages. Why? Because Netanyahu wants Lebanon's south to be a buffer under Israel's sway, denying Hezbollah safe depth. Repeated incursions, drone overflights, attacks on infrastructure all serve that aim. Israel fields advanced air, naval, drone, and artillery systems. Lebanon's capacity is far more limited. When strikes hit power plants, roads, home schools, the damage falls disproportionately on civilians. I interpret that not as collateral, inevitable, but as part of a broader campaign to destabilize, intimidate, and degrade. Over time, the repeated hammering sends a message. You are under Israel's dominion, whether formally or informally. Israel's firepower is overwhelming, and it uses that overwhelming force, not just defensively, but proactively. That choice is a moral decision, not a technical inevitability. In 2005, Israel withdrew settlers and military from Gaza, ending occupation, but control remained. Israel controls Gaza's airspace, territorial waters, border crossing, supply of electricity and water, and periodic incursions. Over time, repeated wars, 2008, 2012, 2014, 2021, 2023 through 25, have devastated civilian life. The logic is deterrence. Punish aggressive acts by Hamas so the population will pressure cessation. Yet civilian casualties and infrastructure damage are often mass. Under Netanyahu, the principle is Gaza must remain powerless, dependent, and contained. Even small infrastructure repair requires Israeli approval. Long-term reconstruction is blocked by export controls. I see this pattern not just as war, but as a campaign of control, containment, and destruction of civic life, all of which align with my conviction that it amounts to genocide. To be clear, I believe what Israel is doing in Gaza is not incidental war. It is a systemic campaign to erase, to deny, to control. That is, in my view, genocide. If not Netanyahu wants land, why doesn't he just annex everything, right? The answer, demographic, legal, and political constraints. Annexing populated Palestinian areas means incorporating millions of Palestinians, risking Israel's Jewish majority. creating liabilities of citizenship, legal rights, and international backlash. So instead, the method is hybrid: control without formal annexation, dominance without full citizenship, destruction without total ownership. This is a more subtle form of expansion, a creeping without formal name, annexation. In my view, this hybrid method lets Israel claim democracy while executing policies that deny core rights to millions under its control. I'm not here to hedge or equivocate. I believe this is genocide. My reasoning? Genocide is not just mass killing. It includes acts intended to destroy, in whole or part, a protected group through deprivation, displacement, and denial of conditions of life. Look at the pattern. Siege and blockade, starving basic supplies, withholding water, electricity, medical aid, bombing civilian infrastructure, forced displacement, disruption of births, education, economy, all targeted at people in a specific territory. The International Court of Justice has ordered Israel to prevent acts of genocide, to enable humanitarian aid, to protect the Palestinian population. These orders are binding in international law. They are not optional. Thus, when Israel continues shelling, refuses to open supply lines, or denies basic services, I interpret those as part of an orchestrated campaign with genocidal logic. It is my position, grounded in principle and evidence, that this is not war crime allegations alone. This is genocide. I will continue calling it what I believe it is. Critics will say Israel is defending itself. It faces a ruthless enemy in Hamas and Hezbollah. Ceasefires were broken, missiles fired. Civilian harm is tragic but unintended. Intelligence is imperfect. Those are valid parts of the discourse. But defense does not nullify proportionality and non-combatant immunity. When your responses are predictable in their devastation, you must accept accountability. Also, Israel's justifications do not explain repeated sieges, prolonged deprivation, denial of reconstruction, or displacement policies that seem far beyond immediate war aims. It's not enough to argue war is messy. When the mess is patterned and long-term and targeted, you cross into systematic campaign territory, and that's my view. I welcome debate, but I will not accept that labeling this genocide is mere hyperbole. It is a moral imperative to call evil by its name. Israel was supposed to be a haven, a state of law, a refuge. Instead, under Netanyahu's dominance doctrine, southern Lebanon and Gaza have been theaters of sustained destruction. I believe that destruction qualifies as genocide under international law, deliberate, systemic, and aimed at people precisely because they are Palestinian. If you agree, dissent, or are curious, engage. Share this video. Press your representative to support accountability. Demand reporting that names it. Ask not just what happened, but why it was allowed to happen. Until next time, stay vigilant. Stay humane. This is Behind the Curtain, IMO. Thank you for being here.